Hello and welcome. In this lecture, I will be explaining how the for loops work in PHP. In PHP, the for loops is used to execute a block of code a specified number of times. So normally you would use a for loop when you know in advance how many times the script should run. So let's take a look at a typical syntax for a for loop. So this is what the syntax looks like. So in a for loop, you have to start with the word for, and then you have the init counter, which is this parameter here, this init counter. Basically is known as the initialization counter. It will initialize the loop counter value. So this is what initializes the loop. So when you're doing a for loop, you have to have a counter where the loop starts from. This is going to initialize the loop. And then we have the test counter. The test counter, basically what that does, it's evaluated for each loop iteration. So if it evaluates to true, the loop continues. If it evaluates to false, the loop will stop. And then you have the increment counter. The increment counter basically increases the loop counter value. So once you've specified all the parameters inside the parentheses, you have the code block, which is between the curly braces, the opening and the closing curly braces. Then any block of code that is inside this curly braces here will be executed. So let me show you a simple basic illustration of how a for loop works. So in the example here, it displays numbers from 0 to 17. So you can see here, this is a for loop. I got a variable x and we set that to equals to 0. So this will be the initialization counter, which is the initial value is 0. And then we have then it evaluates each time the loop runs. It will check this condition to see if this variable, now this is the initial value of the variable, and then this is the test counter, and then the variable becomes a less than or equals to 17. So this is a condition. So when the loop checks, it will see that this condition here, this value, the variable x, has got a new condition which is less than or equals to 17. Each time the loop runs, it will increase. So the plus means the value will go up by 1. So it will go around, it will run, it will output 1, it goes around again, it will output 2, on as long as this condition, as long as it is less than or equals to 17. When it gets to 17, the loop stops because this condition here is no longer true. And here, this is the code that gets executed, printed out on the screen. So that's basically how a for loop works. Thanks for watching and bye for now.